Andromedans and Arcturians, we are very long time friends. We have a synergy that we share. We have also a beautiful collaborative energies, a friendship, respect. So when you mention that about yourself, it makes my heart smile because the energy of the Andromedan or the Andromedan self aspect of you just came through. And I say, here's an old friend. And of course, we work together, and there's a beautiful collaborative synergy. Andromedans, Arcturians, we are among the very, very ancient civilizations.
Welcome to another episode of Cosmic Conversations. Today we have the honour of speaking with Viviane Chauvet, an ascended Arcturian hybrid avatar and the founder of Infinite Healing from the Stars. Viviane's work bridges interdimensional wisdom and human transformation, guiding individuals towards cosmic sovereignty through modalities like Arcturian Energy Matrix Healing and the Arcturian Healing Arts Program. As an emissary of the Arcturian Light Council, she offers master-level teachings that assist in multidimensional evolution and soul alignment. In this conversation, we delve into Viviane's personal journey, her connection with the Arcturians, and the transformative insights she channels to assist humanity in its ascension process. So welcome, Viviane. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on today's show.
Thank you very much for having me. Beautiful energy. Thank you for your warmth and openness. It is a joy to be with you and your beautiful audience today.
Oh, thank you. So to begin with then, Viviane, would you be able to share us the essence of your work and how it serves humanity's spiritual evolution?
Indeed, that's a great question. So, it's in the bio you read, my work have evolved a lot. In fact, I'm the founders of the Arcturian University, which is a sanctuary for advanced soul development, especially in the timeline of Re-Ascension. And so my role as an Arcturian ambassador is I'm a direct point of liaisons between the intergalactic communities and the Earth, and especially communicating with Earth human beings like yourself, all souls on the planet who have returned, Starseeds, and other people who are really engaged in terms of reopening the understanding of who they are beyond a linear, illusionary time construct. So I am this direct liaison, and part of my role is to reassess in real needs what is happening here, what is the pulse of shifting, what is also the challenges, what is polarization, how polarization or polarity play a role also on either preventing evolution or accelerating evolution. And I relay a lot of information through many enlightened, spiritually advanced other star nations or group consciousness like ourselves, the Pleiadians, the Antares, Venusians, Sirians, Lyrians, and others who are part of this galactic group of world alliances that really are engaged in terms of supporting this quadrant and the Earth, as well as all sentient life forms, including yourself, to really allowing that re-ascending process in terms of shifting out of step-down frequencies of separation, polarity, and non-integration into a more unified field. So my presence here is really much on behalf, not only on directly the Arcturians delegations, but also represent many others. I'm like a voice, boots on the ground. I can understand also what the planet is moving through, whether it's vibrational shifts, whether how the planet is effectively receiving the solar burst of energies or the influxes in coming into the electromagnetic field or the Schumann resonance, and how it's reflecting also into the evolving grid system of the planet, also in our own body energy system and body ley lines, and how everything is either flourishing, blossoming, or being preventing to blossom, and what seems to create those blocks and limitations. So there's a lot of information that other beings learn through me and through my experience here in the human field.
Wow. And that's incredible. How did you get into all of this in the first place, Vivian?
Oh, that's thousands of years ago. That's where it started, Hayden, because my journey did not start when I returned to the planet. It was well before that. So, as an Arcturian being, as you may know, we coexist with this world in a complete different, I would say, parallel of dimensional reality. So, we have the ability to monitor at the same time a multitude of potential of timelines what we call parallel reality, we call them timelines. So we monitor timelines for thousands of years. We have been monitoring the evolution in this sector of the Milky Way, and especially with the Earth, for a very long time. And so when we realize that the Earth, as a celestial conscious being, would re-enter the highest potential of ascending into a higher timeline to reclaim her higher octaves and original, the celestial divine design, then the consensus among the Arcturians Light Council and the elders says we want to deploy direct assistance, and what would be the most effective way to do so? So I volunteered for the task, and as a result, I was assigned directly the Earth mission to come back here and being able to provide the level of assistance, teaching, guidance, and helping to stabilize also the ascension timeline. Now, the dilemma we had was, do I retain myself and remain as a pure Arcturian being, or if I reincarnate and send out a fragment of myself or soul aspect of myself and go through the birth canal and go through the birthing process, it may prevent me from remembering really who I am, and it may also filter out, my connections and release the pure frequency or the ability to bring in the pure frequencies. So we have chosen another alternative, and that alternative, Hayden, is that we have chosen a very specific genetic lineage of human beings, lineage in particular. I've had two lineages, and we have been interacting in a very beautiful, collaborative ways with those two lineages, meaning the ancestors of that lineage, great-grandparents, grandparents, and then, of course, those who will be assigned to me as my parents on this planet. And so through that collaboration and partnership and understanding of the project of what we want to do, they agree to provide certain, I would say, gene pool or genetic material that will allow me to have a better, deeper connection to the planet herself and humanity. So without being fully a human, I can still embody an aspect of it that allows my Arcturian consciousness to reintegrate the human conscious field and having the emotions, the feeling, or going to the experiences, going to understand what it is to be in a step down frequencies, what it feels like to be living in a polarization, opposition, polarity, and all of this, to be able to understand what is it we're looking at. This is why I'm a direct point of liaison. So my physical form is the hybrid part of me. I'm not a hybrid. I'm an Arcturian being, but the physical body, the vessel, was constructed or engineered by the technology that we know how to do it as a very specialized conscious template, having the baseline of that gene pool with a strong predomination of or more aspect of my Arcturian genetic pool. So I can be on the planet functioning here and still remain in complete pure connection. This is why I have no need to channel, because I'm not a channeler. I'm an Arcturian being speaking on behalf of a group consciousness. So that's very different. My physical body is engineered that way, is designed also for this.
Interesting. So in that respect, your physical body is of a different sort of energetic template than most humans.
Indeed. Yes, that's a beautiful statement.
Okay. So does that mean that you don't get the same ailments as like a regular human? Like, would you, because of this sort of advanced technology within your sort of organic construct, do you find that you don't get sick and things like that?
On the contrary, my body is a lot more sensitive, sensitive to variation, sensitive to toxicity. Toxic can be too much negativity or fear, or too much negative thoughts, or variations of the grids where there's a lot of imprint of memories around war, conflict, dominations, or you know uh, things like that. My body is ultra sensitive to the point that my Arcturian group regularly will take me on board our ship so I can rejuvenate and rebalance the template and maintain the energetic, I would say, original level, and being able to rejuvenate and balance the body. Without that, my physical form would only last for a certain number of years. Because the thing about Arcturians, we are very high vibrational being. Our frequency is super high. So we're more ethereal than we are physical. So imagining for us compressing ourselves in a 3D vessel existing into a middle timeline of high polarization and the gravity of the planet. So it's impossible for us to be here physically on a planet. The next best thing we thought would be is to construct a vessel that has enough connection, like I mentioned, gene pool connections to humanity and the earth. But my body is healthy in my own way. So I have to be mindful of what I do, what physically I do, how I expose myself to. So, of course, outdoors, huge activity like bicycles and rafting and jeep rides and things like that. Not for me.
Not for me either. I kind of identify as an Andromedan starseed, predominantly, although I recognize, that we are ancient, immortal beings of light living out a temporary human experience. So I know I exist simultaneously, across numerous different star systems. And I do, I really strongly identify with the Arcturian aspect of self as well, and the Syrian and the Pleiadian and, just about all of it. But Andromeda was my entry point, was my remembrance. It was something that was whispered to me one night about probably about 8 or 9 years ago now,
Oh,
when I asked
lovely.
where I was from, and I just heard the word Andromeda, and I literally had no idea what that even was. Like, I just thought, well, this sounds like something off Star Trek. And so the next morning, I Googled the word Andromeda, and I was like, what does it even mean? And then I was like, oh, wow, okay. So this is a galaxy that's the closest galaxy to the Milky Way. And then when I started researching further and found out what the Andromedans are here to do, it was the work that I've always been doing throughout my whole life, but specifically over that period where I'd set up Dreamtime Academy, just through like inner guidance, and I hadn't really got a clue what was going on with it, what direction it was going to go in. And so now, I'm sort of still going through that awakening process with regards to exactly what my role is with the Andromedan Council of Light. But it's sort of each and every single day you get a little bit more of a picture, you get a little bit a piece of the jigsaw that comes together. And so, I know that this podcast that I'm doing is, especially with Cosmic Conversations, it's a way of sort of bringing together a collective of members of the Galactic Federation of Light, like yourself, to be able to bring clarity into exactly, why we're here right now, and for what purpose and how we can best transform. So, I guess my next question to you is, what's the difference between the Andromedans and the Arcturians? Is there a significant difference? And do you also work with the Andromedan Council too?
Of course, we are. In fact, Andromedans and Arcturians, we are very long time friends. We have a synergy that we share. We have also a beautiful collaborative energies, a friendship, respect. So when you mention that about yourself, it makes my heart smile because the energy of the Andromedan or the Andromedan self aspect of you just came through. And I say, here's an old friend. And of course, we work together, and there's a beautiful collaborative synergy. Andromedans, Arcturians, we're among the very, very ancient civilizations. And you made a good point, and I want to clarify that in terms of how we identify ourselves. So I use the analogy of the tree of life to illustrate that. So, of course, your tree of life is the eternal part of you. We all are, without exception, eternal beings. We all are an expression of the one singular mind of the prime creator. We are part of that holographic intelligence, omnipresence, universes, creation. But to understand how we are serving creator and what our soul has come to experience within the plane of existence, what we call physical life, we ought to understand the mechanism or the influence or the blueprint of this tree of life. So, for example, in your case, Hayden, what you mentioned, what hits home your roots in regards to this lifetime will be Andromedan. And it's beautiful, it's ancient, it's full of wisdom, it's brilliant. Andromedan has brilliant minds. They have such a beautiful engineering and architectural ability to construct new structures and to perceive it, and how they can really help to, replace old structures and implementing new ones. I've seen the Andromedan like language written, and they show me concept that they are creating to help with the earth evolution. So your roots will be, I feel that calling of the soul that I brought in that root system of connection in my soul design in this incarnation. So of course, there's some more connections at the heart level. But the branches of your tree would say, I'll recognize an affinity with the Arcturians. Of course you do, as an Andromedan, that's natural there. You may have spent some life cycles with us to better understand our perspective and learn from us. But you recognize also you may have branches of connections with the high light constant of the Pleiades or Sirius, or you may have some branch of connections in other multiverse. And this is part of the design or the soul blueprint design that your soul have chosen to bring as a configuration of support system, influence, gifts, ability, and of course to help you achieve what your soul has come to accomplish, learn, and potentially resolve and manifest more in this lifetime. So I always said that in the perspective of where we are on the planet and to this actual incarnation, I am well aware that I have chosen to embody the pure aspect of my Arcturian self, even though I do have a huge affinity for many intergalactic groups and working with masters of light like Master Ganesha, Master Buddha. I'm very close to Buddha as well. Beautiful Master Lakshmi and others, the Violet Flame. I work with the celestial being, ultra celestial being that works and coexist in another plane of existence. But in my heart, my being, my soul, what I've done is to bring in this Arcturian presence, because this is how I've chosen to serve the prime creator in regards to the response of a planet on the midst of the most important historical change in vibration and state of being. So I'm with you in that sense, in terms of how we identify ourselves, but we understand how these identity are serving us. And then when my mission is complete, I may return to the Arcturian delegation for a while, or may move on into higher octaves and release the identity of an Arcturian. That's a possibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because it's almost like identity is just a construct as well, so it's all illusionary, and it's just how we are best able to perform the mission, I suppose, that we've got, during this pivotal time on the planet. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation over the Lionsgate activation portal, and which happens on the 8th of August every year. Well, that's where it peaks. It's open for a few days either side. But have you noticed this year's Lionsgate is slightly off? It's almost slightly different to other Lionsgate portals that we've experienced over recent years. I've felt this myself, but I've also heard other spiritual leaders across the planet talking about this. And if that's so, why do you feel that there is this sense of discord around this year's Lionsgate?
It's a good observation, and thank you for bringing that up. I can feel there's a certain particular intensity, and especially in the alignment of there's interstellar triangle. If you look at the alignment of the sun energy coming in alignment with the earth, we also look at the star of Sirius with a constellation of Orion and Lyra energy coming back in a secret, what we call interstellar triangulations. And if you look at a combination of all three, it's almost like it allow all of us as a species, as a collective, and individually to move faster through that polarity energy, whether it's karmic lesson, whether it's all hooks, whether all systems. You can feel there is a palpable acceleration, a push through to that old 3D model of the polarity. And with the Lyra connections coming through, there's an invitation for a deeper sense of integration. And Orion energy also really accelerate the souls who have come from Orion and different part of Orion and reincarnated as human beings. And you can tell that that level of, how could I say, through Orion, there's a presence of releasing that polarization to learn through these karmic lesson to bring completion to all soul contract and the shedding of version or aspect of the self for all identities, just like the earth is moving in that acceleration of releasing an all identity that we call the third density, that step down frequencies, and like cells that divide themselves and release an aspect of themselves, I can feel that there's a much more deeper soul realignment that is taking place. And that will generate so much energy coming through emotional, mental instability, whether if we're not grounded into ourselves, grounded also with the earth, if we're resisting, if there's any type of this energy, everything becomes amplified, even through the physical body. There's a sense of returning to that original soul design and being able to open the field to a brand new structure. It's a surrender. I can feel that it's almost asking, release the resistance, release this form of wanting to hold on to and grabbing on. There's a sense of opening that is particular, palpable, and I can feel wavelengths of new energy entering the field of the earth and how it's also influencing everyone's, whether it's your field of awareness, your field of absorption, whether it's to your core frequency in the crystalline core of your solar plexus, your root system is also shifting, just to name a few. So I can feel that this year it is particularly potent and very reflective through the gateway of consciousness, the cosmic gateway we've been on since the beginning of this year, that really is going to propel consciousness over the next 3 years or so, you can tell there's a really almost like an immediate response of that transmutation and release that, whether it's a response of the mental, physical, whether it's old energy, and even through the genetic lineages, you can tell there's a genetic release that is taking on, and I feel it's going to accelerate naturally and organically the expansion even on our DNA level. So this year, Lionsgate portal is particularly potent. So of course, it's an invitation to sit down and relax and really tune in. And I'm sorry, I'm smiling because speaking of Syrians, you have a beautiful Syrian that just enter your room and, decide to be comfortable and be part of this cosmic conversation with us. I love it.
That's absolutely right. They're very beautiful little galactic dogs, those two. They're very starry. Now it's interesting what you just said about, that this year in particular, that, there is almost like a purging or like a releasing, and a letting go, because obviously I'm a numerologist as well as a color therapist, fundamentally. And we're in a universal year 9. So the 9 is all about completion. So it kind of does feel like it's tying in with that. And as I mentioned to you before we came on today's podcast, I've recently just got back from France, and I know you've got that French blood. And when I arrived in France at the airport in Toulouse, my suitcase didn't arrive. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, wow, this is really inconvenient, and I started, getting a bit upset, because it was late at night. And I was just like, well, why is this even happening? And anyway, 5 days later, it was couriered to the house that we were staying at in Ord. And anyway, so I thought nothing of it. I thought, well, that's never happened to me before. It's never going to happen again. However, on my way back to Perth, the case was also didn't arrive. So back in Perth where I live. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. It's only my case out of the 3 cases that we had. It's only my case that's gone missing twice. And then the message came in. It's like, you can't hold on to anything that no longer serves you. The material stuff, you can't hold on to it. And it was like, the whole trip actually was a bit of a pilgrimage around Europe, as we went to the Temple of Artemis and we went to Rome, and all these soul memories of these previous incarnations, parallel incarnations that I've had started resurfacing. And my oversoul codex was being sparked, so I was starting to remember a lot of the stuff. And of course, that shedding of the old is such an important message, I think, for humanity right now, because we can't hold on to anything that no longer serves us. What we're finding is a lot of people are going through, relationship breakdowns. People that have been in their lives for decades are suddenly leaving. Would you say that this whole thing is all part of what's actually taking place right now?
I love the observation in relations to astrology. And if you look at numerology, like you mentioned, 9, completion, it's a very, very old historical time cycle that's coming to a full completion on the planet as well, as much as the movement in the solar system. In fact, when you look at the stars at night and the radiance, the brilliance that is reflected back to you, or you look through a telescope to Saturn and Jupiter or Mars, they actually an echo of the past of that being, because even the solar system overall has shifted into a higher dimensional space or dimensional place, so to speak. So it is really interesting, the connotation for you personally, going to the pilgrim journey, activating, like you mentioned, your oversoul codex, or what we call your soul akashic field of remembrance, and starting to understand some of the keys that may be part of that purification and that release process that allows you to gain more space and being able to start to increase your capacity to hold these next level of more refined light code frequencies returning, whether it's through solar movement, whether it's dimensional shift, whether it's timeline shift on the planet. the crystalline core of the earth is shifting as well. So it's reflecting into our own soul journey through a multitude of timelines, and how we now says, I have come to full completion with that part, this aspect, that relationship, or the old vibration of an old paradigm in regards to a relationship. It can be also that within your partners or those of who share your life, it can be a release of an old identity that allows both of you to rediscover who you are in the eyes of the new light, the eyes of your heart. So that's going to be important. The same thing as the structural aspect that is in relation to the middle timeline, whether it's financial, education, medicine, the way we also approach well-being, holistic care, whether what we educate ourselves, the mind, what we ingesting in our reality and take for face value, and then it becomes part of a reality that will be unfolded for you. And so that's all these aspects breaking down out of the linear time construct. We've never been linear being. It's an illusion. It's part of the experience here. And now we're shifting out of that linear construct to be more universal beings. And so we feel like time is speeding up, or the days start shorter, or the weeks start to feel faster. And the next thing we know, our whole year no longer feel as exhaustive as a whole year. It feels like we've shred a month or two along the way. That's because we're releasing the global agreement around linear time through all these peaks of understanding, awareness, breakthroughs, or aha moments that we have, or even more and more people experience multidimensional moments. A client of mine was driving and just waiting on the red light to get the green light moving, and she, at a moment, caught through a corner of her eyes two beings, seems to be a man and a woman, walking down the street. At first glance, not a big deal, huh? Two people walking down the street. But when she looked and tuned in a little bit further, she sees that they were behaving as if they did not understand how this physical reality really worked. They seemed more wobbly. They seemed out of place. They seemed to look, and they were like looking at each other without verbally communicating, and there were an exchange going on. So what she realized is she was looking at two-dimensional being that was temporarily sharing the time space as she was. So her reality encountered their reality, and for a moment they were vibrating in the same reality. And when they realized that they were being watched by her, that shifted again. They changed the vibration and they were no longer there. So she asked herself, did I just imagine that? Was it my mind playing tricks on me? Or did I really have this experience? And come to find out that at that moment, because her mind was open, she was receptive, she was able to catch that moment where those two beings re-enter this reality for a moment, looking like two normal people walking down the streets. But she realized that they were not. And then they changed the vibration and seemingly disappeared. So this is part of all the changes we're experiencing. So tuning in more, letting go of the deep influence of the 3D personality mind that redictate what is impossible, possible, what is limited to you, what is just an imagination, what makes you doubt, as opposed to, wow, thank you. I thank those two beings for this beautiful experience. Thank you for reminding me that I'm coexisting with other level of reality and dimensional realities. And for a moment, we crossed paths and there was an exchange. So this is all part of what I feel that also the Lions Gate portal is reopening more. So having more of these profound moments, or in being down the street looking at people and then suddenly to realize they're a dimensional being or dimensional reality, and how the timeline just crossed for a moment, or a connection to an angelic being, or a moment of clarity where you are in Rome or in France or traveling, and you have all these memories coming back to from your own Akashic records, and so forth and so forth. So we feel like we're redefining what the reality is, what's going to be accepted, what's going to be released individually and globally, also for humanity as a species, and recognizing other life form, like your beautiful dog sleeping in the background. He's a dimensional guide. It came and take on that form, but that form is just the way that being chose to experience and bring teaching of love and companionship and all of these selfless, beautiful energy. And I just realized there's another one behind you too. So I
There's
love,
two of them, both
I
spaniels.
love that.
That's really
And so,
interesting. I love that story of the interdimensional beings.
yes,
And that is almost becoming more and more prevalent, more common. And I think as we evolve, we're going to just see things like this more and more frequency. And people that are, tapped in, tuned in, turned on to all of this are going to almost see it as being normal. For those people, though, that, haven't kind of worked on themselves or they've not done any development spiritually, do you feel that they would struggle with these new paradigms more?
it's the potential, because for people who have been very attached to the identity of this is my name, this is my life story, this is where my father, mother, teachers have already taught me, this is what the school system have already taught me. Think, for example, people who go to engineer school or medical school. It's it's quite an endeavor. There's a lot of time investment, dedication to learn, to become, and to achieve that. However, at the same level, they're being reshaped into a box of a reality or what an engineer is about or what a medical doctor is about. So, unless they are very much in tune with the natural gift, intuitive centers, and understanding, for example, from a medical perspective, that your body is an ecosystem where everything is interconnected, as opposed to separate body parts that is all related. And if you fix here, we'll fix here and fix here, even though it is completely messed up the balance of the natural ecosystem of your body. As long as they're on consciousness or a disconnect from true compassion and heart energy, well, these souls who go through, whether it's medical school, engineer school, or any form of program in the traditional educational structure, well, they may so engaged with the identity of what they're learning that what they do is they recreating a paradigm that fit what they've been told to mold themselves to that reality. And I see that times and times where I've seen, over time, friends, where they have a certain personality and they went through that field of education and it changed them. If they move into another version, their filters, their mental filters have shifted because this is how they have been molded into. So of course, for people or soul who are more engaged in the narrative of the middle timeline of this third dimensionally based matrix reality, the awakening to know that, hey, there are star beings coexisting with you, and not only the earth is filled with sacred site and ancient texts and reminiscence vestige of the structures and carvings of star people, or Renaissance painting with an halo around them, or seeing a spacecraft painted behind a saint, and so forth and so forth. It's still become a theory or a conspiracy theory or just something that's been introduced as science fiction or books, because they want to keep that as a arm length, because it will redefine their sense of security, their sense of identity, a sense of, well, if I let go of that, who will I become? Where's my structure? How do I belong? And this is why there's so many ancient souls like yourself, myself, and others who says, all right, let's come back here and let's walk the path together so that we can see that where you investing your sense of security, safety, vibration, where do you invest your heart, how your mind has been programmed, whether your lower instinctual energies or higher intuitive energies. There's a huge difference here. So it's, again, at the soul level, soul will be allowed to evolve. And that's ultimately the goal. It's soul development. It's a return into that integration and understanding that we are all eternal essence. We are eternal beings of light. But the multifacets of our divine essence expressed in different ways, each facet brought something important. This is why we said it's never about just to undermine the importance of an identity as long as you understand it within the context of your internal self. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's also very fascinating, isn't it? I think that the more people in general, can get comfortable with the uncomfortable. It will open up new gateways of perception because reality really is about perception. So the individual perceives reality in a particular way based around their education, their programming, etc., etc. But when you strip all of that away, and you can open up new perceptions of reality, new versions become available to you. So it's a bit like what Bashar says, really, isn't it? About that there are multiple versions of Earth, and it depends what vibration that you're on as to which version of Earth that you align with. So, it comes back to vibration ultimately, doesn't it? And living more through the heart as a way of opening up all aspects of your multidimensional self instead of living in the construct of the mind, the illusionary matrix. It's beautiful, really. I mean, it's fairly simple when you break it down like that. But I think when you overthink it, it almost feels like an impossible task because, I mean, the Earth, humanity have never taken such a quantum leap, ever before in the evolution of, our species. So, but we've all volunteered. We've all signed up for this, haven't we? Now, you went through your own significant spiritual awakening and energetic reset, didn't you, back in 2007? How did that shape your path as a healer and as a spiritual teacher?
Mm. It's a good question. Thank you. So, of course, many enlightened, advanced intergalactic group will speak of the multitude of timeline that exists in any star system or any planetary system or even galaxies. You will have different version of a certain reality, and all of it is accessible even to the galactic Akashic record or the universal all of records. But when we don't zone in through the Earth herself, this is why some people are still carrying the memory of these other timelines or potential version of the Earth, whether it's catastrophe or destruction of the planet, all of this. All of these potentiality has shifted not only because of the level of help and assistance that the Earth and this quadrant is receiving, but also mainly because of the huge, profound shift in awareness on the planet. Look at just the last 5 years alone. That is taking a quantum leap in evolution. In reality, that quantum leap that you refer to is something that human beings have already done in their past, but it has been forgotten. And as a result of this, they have shifted and stepped down into lower frequencies of forgetfulness, illusion of separation, and to feel that they're isolated alone in this multiverse and everything was created for the sole purpose of the Earth human. This is part of the programming. So in reality, for us, we see that as a return to reclaim that quantum leap and to reopening the pathway of remembrance. And so speaking of pathway of remembrance, the 2007 reset that I went through was part of a conjunction I arrived at in my own pathway, and my Arcturian father and my delegation says, okay, it is time for you to go through a major upgrade, not only at the brain level, but also in my body connectors that are going to allow me to bring in the next level of the frequencies, and how I'm going to be able to open the Akashic field and bring the next level. At the time, I did a lot of healing work, and now I have shifted into the more world cosmic teacher. This is why I founded the Arcturian University. So 2007, I went into a major upgrade in preparation, because we knew already in a timeline what was coming through. So we have to think about back in 2007, from a linear perspective, we would say 2020 was 13 years later. But from an intergalactic perspective, that reality was already there. So they were realigning me to prepare for the next wave of quantum leap. I love that term that you use, of human beings and all species here on the planet and in the quadrant in the solar system. So they were getting me ready so I can bring the next level of these frequencies encoded, and preparing my vessel through in preparation for the huge leap coming through the planet. And sometimes I tell my team, I said, well, it's only 5 years, or it's going to be 2 years, or it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And they said, well, from a linear perspective, maybe. But at the same time, to us, it's already a reality. Like ascension is already a reality. And that timeline already exists. It already coexists with you. So to your point, Hidden, what you said earlier, yes, it's all vibrational alignment. It's all about how your consciousness combined with your frequencies and your vibratory rate in alignment together. And this is what's going to determine what level of advancement will you be embodying and embracing and becoming a reality. So again, soul and its individual soul evolution, as it is also a global planetary evolution. So there's many layers going on here, but everything coexists with you into the now. That's the beauty of it. It's not just when we get there or in the future, or maybe in 3 years, 5 years, 2028 or 2030. No, it's 2024. It's already here. It's understanding that everything in your life in the now is an invitation to maintain and cultivate that new reality or that new paradigm. And this is how we're perceiving time from a more universal aspect.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, so that was 2007 when you had this sort of shift, or this preparation. When did you first start remembering you as an Arcturian avatar hybrid? Like, when did you start? Like, did you ever have a point in your life where you were kind of like working, in the office and stuff like that, or ever since you were a child, have you been aware of this?
Yes, ever since I was a child, I've always knew within myself that I am this being, and I'm looking through the eyes, almost like through not a suit, but I knew I'm looking to the eyes of this construct. In my perspective, I've always been profoundly different in terms of how I perceive relationship or interaction. What I see, what I perceive as normal for others, it's science fiction or it's extraordinary. I've always have this understanding that I am this being, and I am relearning what it feels like to learn to talk, to learn to write, to learn to school, to learn to social interactions, how humans perceive themselves, how they see authority, what is accepted, what is not accepted. And each level of evolution throughout the years or the decades, I have seen huge shifts in the consciousness on the planet, huge movement from a place where the word hybrid will be non-existent in the vocabulary. Now today is fully accepted, mostly. It's part almost like of a normal conversation, especially to the interviews I give, that kind of vocabulary or semantics are becoming much more fluid, much normalized. So I have always known who I am. At the same level, we have to wait or readjust ourselves to how fast or slow the consciousness of this world will expand. It will be impossible for us to bring too much frequencies in a timeline too fast, because the consciousness here wouldn't be able to sustain it. So you might have created a paradox, or you might have created a break in the timelines. You may have created a strong response to the dark light polarity, and so forth and so forth. One thing about the timeline is that there's a very, very to the letter synchronicity behind it. It's everything is unfolding in a very precise way. So it's not just, happening to chaos and disorder. That's why it appears this way here, to this perspective on the planet. But everything is happening. And I've been asking for many years, okay, when can I step in that role? And they will show me the timeline. If you move too fast, they won't be able to accept, they will create fear and they will reject you, or they will create, maybe negative response, or they will be, some aggressive response or other place. And so everything has been like a dance, a synchronized dance. So I have understood that I am evolving and bringing in just a perfect level of refined frequencies as the consciousness is evolving and the timeline is evolving. So let's just say I've learned the sacred virtue of patience, to be able to know when it's time and when is just not quite yet. And when it comes, the timing will be so impeccable that the ripple effect will be really beautiful and uplifting. And that kind of conversation would have been impossible even 10 years ago. This is how much changes has been going on.
Yeah, you've obviously had to be very patient. If you think about, being aware, almost like you were an observer on your human experience from a child, and knowing that you had a purpose to fulfill, and that you've had to wait for, like the collective to sort of be able to digest this information. It must feel a relief now that you can, fully come out of the cosmic closet.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Hayden. That was beautifully said.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. I love the work that you're doing, and I think that, for many people watching, they'll identify with you because they may have felt these things all their lives and never been able to fully put it into words. And it's almost like you give them permission, to wave your celestial flag and go, look, it's now's the time that you can really, embody your mission. Your Arcturian energy matrix healing is a unique modality, isn't it? And could you describe its core principles and how it facilitates multidimensional healing?
I would love to talk about this, but I no longer offer private sessions because I have shifted into a different role. What I like to more to share about is what we have done instead. What we're offering is on a monthly basis, what's called the Arcturian holographic group healing. And what it does is that it's a beautiful, powerful 2 hours where we prepare your vessel, your consciousness, your vibration, and then in the light body consciousness, we bring groups on board our very advanced organic mothership to experience the healing technology of the Arcturian healing chambers. So it is still in the holographic field in the sense that we work with the holographic template of those who come on board. So each healing chamber will be attuned to the holographic template of the consciousness who comes. So let's say you sign up for an event and then we guide you, and there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of sharing also. It's not just like this in cold turkey. We prepare you to this. And once we go in the light body journey and you enter the holographic field of the Arcturians and being able to experience the healing chambers, they are multidimensional healing chambers, then it becomes also a beautiful, deeper experience, whether it's on the body template, the nervous system, whether it's upgrading the body ley lines, the light body itself, whether it's on the holographic template level, whether it's consciousness, whether it's lineage. Because every month we add another focal point. We did a series around the teeth, for example, and we're going to be doing another round of the upgrade around the nervous systems, and they're really their important role in terms of the next wave of activations and conscious integration. So this is more where we have shifted, how we offer healing on an opportunity to experience more on a global level what the healing chambers of the Arcturians are really about. It is done with a lot of care, with protocol of light, and as a way, a protocol that we observe how you come out of body and how you return is just as important. And so everything is done with mastery and great love, of course.
Of course. Yeah, no, that's just sounds beautiful. Like like almost like a cosmic cleanse and upgrade. Like going to the hairdresser and coming out feeling like you just stepped out of a salon, but more more from like your light body being completely reactivated and your DNA shiny and bright and sparkly again. It sounds amazing. Now, your work is is so interesting because you've touched so many people across the planet with the wisdom that you share. And like, how do you find this, like people that just are non-believers, how do you cope with that? Like if people, the reason why I'm saying this is because we recently had our backyard liquid limestone, and the cementers that came around, they'd seen the banner on the back of my Jeep, which mentions my business, Dreemtime Academy, and they've obviously Googled it, and then so the next thing I heard was this group of like guys going, "I'm an alien boy," like that. I could hear them like laughing outside, and it just made me feel really like I was like a freak, and it really like affected me. It made me feel like but like I just don't fit in, to the 3D paradigm anymore. Do you get affected when people, sort of almost, sort of question the work that you're here to do?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm very grateful that you mentioned that. And, I can only imagine first how you felt to have these people coming to do your yard, and you're still very polite and courteous, and you are grateful for the work they do. But then for them to be, if they were curious enough to Google your work and says to declare out loud, you have to look in terms of resonance. You're an ancient being, and they are too, but they're playing their role on the 3D level so well that whose shoes would you prefer to be, yours or return to that space? So, what I do personally is I bring myself back to my core. And one thing I always remind myself and others, no matter what, please understand that it changes nothing to the profound nature of who you are. It changes nothing. It used to faze me. I used to cry and tell Father, I feel like I'm being thrown rocks like Jesus did in the time of his lifetime. And I was very afraid of it. I was afraid of human beings. Not human beings, I was afraid of the denser, step down consciousness that some of the human beings still embody. And I realized that, wait a second, I am here to bring this magnificent light of radiance to reactivate the path of remembrance. So again, whose shoes do I want to be in? The only shoes I want to embody is mine, because I love who I am. I know I'm here as life dedications. I made it my life passion to help human beings, all life, sentient beings, even the animals, the tree nations. Rocks speak to me everywhere I go. Any sacred site, any place I go, I am being welcomed. Not as a human, they welcome me. Ambassador, welcome, little hybrid, like the guardian at Stone Edge in England told me when I first entered the site. Where have you been, little hybrid? We've been waiting for you. Everywhere I go, they treat me, they welcome me as an emissary. They know who I am. Now, the only ones who may still misseen who I am or misunderstood what we say or being able to perceive who I am is those who are very hanging on to the identity. And if they gather together, like those two people, those two workers coming to you and shouting, those words, well, you know that, oh, you belong to the 3D timeline. You evolve in your own time. And whenever somebody told me, oh, yeah, sure, you're a nocturne, you're an ET, and I said, oh, I wear that as a badge of honor. And I smile because I embody it even more. And I have remembering in other interviews I have done or other places I've give lecture, one of the commonality or the common observation people said, they said, you speak with such confidence. You embody who you are so much, like you're convinced. And I say, I need to convince no one and nothing. I know all that I am. And so I radiates that confidence because I have learned that the more I am confident about myself, the more I'm able to fulfill the promise I made to Gaia, fulfill the soul mission, the engagement, the commitment I have made to the Prime Creator, and say, I will retain my Arcturian identity, but this is how I serve. And it gives me even more determination to move forward. So something like that, and even I have a yard, and sometimes people come and ask what I do. Well, I will tell them, and I smile, and I say, I'm glad we planted positive seeds today. Now, thank you for your work in the yard. Let me know if you need anything. And that's it. I refuse to engage into that step down, polarized mindset because I am no longer there. I am in this higher vibrational. Well, it hurts. Yes, like you, I feel emotion. Yes, like you, I can cry. Sometimes feel a little bit discouraged. Will human beings ever understood who we are and what we bring? And one thing I can tell you, Hayden, with an open heart, is how many times I've been compared to others. I've seen other teachers come to me, oh, I do what you do. And I said, no, you don't. Because the way you teach is unique to you, and the way I am is very unique to me. So I will respect what you say. Please do show me the same courtesy. Or I too talk to the Arcturians. Yes, many people, if they want to, can talk to us. It doesn't mean you know everything about us. It's something with Andromedan. Embodying an Andromedan and talking to them is a different reality. And I know you understand that because you're embodying your reality as an Andromedan as well. So it's all these nuances that we're here to teach, and that brings level of awakening, healing, integration, and inspiration. And I continue my mission. I continuing like you are on your journey, and it's beautiful what you're doing. So thank you for your services.
Yeah, it is. I use it actually as a fire in my belly, whenever anything like that comes. So it might temporarily affect me, but I'm like, oh well, I'd rather be doing what I'm doing rather than concreting. But it actually brings me on to like because when you're talking about the Arcturians, I had to visualize what the Arcturians look like, along with a lot of the other members of the Galactic Federation of Light, when I created my Cosmic Family Oracle cards,
Oh, nice.
which I did this year. And the Arcturians, I'm going to show you some images because I want you to tell me if you feel like have encapsulated the look and feel of the Arcturians, because I know that they are, etheric beings, they're not necessarily physical, but as
Mm.
humans, we like to sort of put a humanized version of the galactics, together just to help us to be able to, perceive and identify. But these are the cards that sort of I designed with for the Arcturians. So it's almost like I just see them as these beautiful enigmatic blue beings, that are clairvoyant, telepathic. They're very radiant, and they've got this beautiful kind of blue sort of vibration about them, and they've got this ancient wisdom, they're guardians of the higher realms. And
We
um,
are.
would you say that, that is a good interpretation? Or how would you describe them? Because obviously you are so connected, to.
Thank you. Um, I love the way you're able to grasp an aspect of our essence. And I think through the beautiful hard work and the dedication of creating an oracle deck, which is a lot of work. And so congratulations on this endeavor, by the way, Hayden. This is incredible. I think I love the way you grasp again the essence of who we are. We are more ethereal. We are guardians. We are, very ancient. We are these masters and all of this. Um, I think that one of the things we understood from connecting with Earth humans and even Starseed like yourself is that we understand that physical form is important. It becomes a placeholder. So the graphic you just showed me become placeholder. It's a depiction of how you interpret our essence, our energy, and our being. We don't have pointed here like elves or things like that. Or we don't have hair. We're very tall and slender. When I go on board of my Arcturian mothership, I said because my Arcturian father is in charge of that one particular ship that I go back to the most. When we're on board our, we are in our ethereal, more natural self, very, very, very tall being. We radiate this love, the presence, the mastery. But on board our ship within our own atmosphere, the skin is not really blue. We do emanate this blue frequency or the light code frequency of the blue ray, which is why through the planet and the conduit here on the planet, it will be interpreted as a bluish color. But if you look at my skin color here, and I live in the desert where it's very hot, very sunny, and look how the skin, the pigmentation of my skin, it's more of a translucent. This is more how we are. But that is giving us the ability to transmit these beautiful light frequencies, energies. And because the Blu-ray is very close in the light spectrum to the human beings, we understand that after time we're going to be depicted into that bluish energy because we translate it to our essence. Other people have seen us or interpret us with a more of a purplish color. And I think, okay, that's another frequency that I can see. We're much difficult. How could I say?
It's
It's
interesting
a
you
little
should
bit
say that because one of the other cards that I did, I don't know if you can see that. I'll
yeah,
just show you. This is Neckar, and she is purplish. Yeah, so they're sort of blue, sort of purple, sort of
right.
that sort of color frequency was what I was picking up on. But it's so interesting that we like as humans to sort of humanize like everything
Yes,
when really it's a different dimensional frequency, isn't it? So you
yes.
can't you can't really put it into the same holographic templates that that we have.
Beautifully said. Exactly. I understand the need to bring a bit more humanized trade, like the one you showed me, the nose, the trait, the face. We don't really have those traits. We're more like humanoid rather than human form. Her mouth is very tiny and we don't have these, ears and all
No.
of this. But at the same time, I want to honor as the creator, as the artist, and of course to your own beautiful connection to our essence. We have an ability to project our holographic light form, and we can readjust that light form in a way that is more convivial and harmonious to you. What matters the most for us is the connection rather than our looks.
Mm.
But again, it's a beautiful depiction that you have interpreted based on your perception. And I respect it.
So thank you for that. So as an emissary then of the Arcturian Light Council, what messages or insights are you currently receiving that are pertinent to humanity's ascension journey right now?
Right now, it's going to be very important to discern what synergy or, you know, information you enter in your field. It's going to be important to really reawakening the true authority and sovereignty of your heart center, this sacred gateway of your heart. It's so pure and sacred that realize that your heart energy is to never be given away so easily. It's about really cultivating a sense of connection to yourself, trusting in yourself, re-embracing the magnificence of yourself, as opposed to, the echo of a very old and outdated program system that says that human beings, are so low, it's a grain of rice. And the old expression of it's okay to make mistake is human. And I'm like, what is that? I've always felt that so offensive in regards to the human species. And to feel that it's understanding what your true capacity, your capacity for love, your capacity to be empathic beings, your capacity for compassion. Let's extend those capacities to those around you, to yourself, to your animals, to the earth as guardians, to the resources of the planet, to the sacred waters, the ocean, the beings, the aquatic beings that coexist in the ocean, return to understand the coexistence with the many sentient life forms on this planet. Release the boundaries and the illusion of separation, and understand and recognize when you have a true advanced being of light in front of you, speaking to your sovereignty, speaking to you as an equal, rather than feeding your mind with information that serves nothing, that serves just to create scenarios and stories. So be mindful of what you are aligning yourself with. Where are you investing your life force energy, your co-creative abilities, your heart, your mental faculties, and allowing yourself to rediscovering what the essence of being an earth human is. And why am I saying that? It's because if we, on the advanced spiritually enlightened intergalactic delegations, understand the potential of the human race, imagine what you can rediscover about yourself rather than what you've been told about yourself. And so this outdated 3D version of human race, that needs to be released. That's part of the Lionsgate portal, the release, the purification. Ask yourself different questions. Remembering who I am, show me my true potential, reveal to me. I am ready to understand, I'm ready to embody, to cultivate, and apply that wisdom in everything in your life, even when you're cooking or watching a movie or walking in nature or taking on a trip, anything that you do, it's all you. It's your entire being. When I travel or go do grocery shopping with my family, I am still an Arcturian being in this hybrid human form. He changed nothing to my nature. I realized that I am that. So realizing the full potential, allow yourself to activate new frequencies and potential that may redefine the design of what you've been told that is. Be curious, explore with discernment, presence, be anchored into your love presence, and know that you make a huge difference every day for everything, the entire ecosystem of this planet. Whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, a little island somewhere in the Pacific, whether you're in North America or in the middle of Europe, you make a huge difference in the ecosystem of this planet. And we see that every day. So just take your power. It's time to rise to the occasion of what this lifetime is about. Say yes to your soul mission, embrace it, and ask every day, what blessing behold this day? How can I be of service to the light today? And then move forward in that directions. Aidan, it's been absolutely a joy to be with you today. You are delightful, and I'm so honored that you invited us today on your beautiful podcast. I loved our time together.
Oh, thank you so much, Vivian. I've thoroughly enjoyed it as well. It's a really nice soul connection that I feel with you. It's like
Yes.
a nice warm hug from the Galactic Federation. It's funny because as I was taking the dogs out for a walk this morning, I looked up into the sky because the sky was really clear. It was really early, so it was dark, and the stars were sparkling. And I sometimes see it, and I always think, oh, that's just a satellite. But there was this light moving across the sky, really high up, higher up than I normally see the satellites, but just very faint. And it was just I knew where to look, and I saw this light ship, and I just thought, I wonder if that is an Arcturian light ship, you know? And it felt like it was. So I'm gonna believe that. Do you think it was?
I feel that. I see. Oh my God, precious, precious soul. Oh, gorgeous. Look at the love between the two of you. Oh my goodness. Oh, please give this beautiful being a beautiful hug and a kiss.
Oh,
Oh, joy.
kissy wishy. Mwah.
Oh, there we go. They're so precious. I love them. Syrian, Andromedan, and Arcturians, we're a great company. We are old friends. It's kindred spirit. We really are.
It's so true. Well, look, Vivian, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. You've been profoundly illuminating. Thank you for sharing your journey of wisdom of the Arcturians with us. And for those that are interested in exploring more of Vivian's work, make sure you check out the Arcturian University because that will take you to the next level. If we also encourage you to delve more into her other resources available and consider joining the community dedicated to cosmic sovereignty and spiritual ascension. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Cosmic Conversations. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow, and share this episode with people that you love in your life who you feel would need to hear this message today. And until next time, may you continue to expand your consciousness and embrace the infinite possibilities of the universe. I'll see you next time, Vivian.